Okay, this is the first filling for your reticella. It's a simple circle, but it does cover a number of key points. Firstly, to start, always anchor your thread on the wrong side underneath the satin stitches with a little loop to secure. And then on the corner, do a half hitch. That secures that thread very neatly into the shape. And then going diagonally across, we need to lay out 3 sets of threads to act as our support for our filling. Once we've got the 3 sets of threads, then we're into the next phase of development for our filling. So we've got 3 sets, yes, double check. And then we need to wrap. Now the wraps need to be very carefully and tensioned so that they sit and lay right next to one another all the way, rather than be spread out with airspace in between. And note, I'm using, once again, the eye of the needle so that I don't split my 3 sets of threads. And the wrapping, I can use the eye of the needle to tension it back, as well as make sure that I haven't laid a set of threads over the top of the other. Also note that I'm using my fingers to act as a bit of a press, and my thumbnail to pull back the wraps so the air gap in between is none. So I wrap out with this thread, which is Elizabeth 80, I probably need about 20 wraps to get to halfway. And those wraps, it's really wise to count them, but once you think you're halfway, then you have to take your thread out to another corner, and as I've gone over the top of that bar, I'm going under as I go across diagonally. So then I go across to the other corner, and because I've gone under to get there, I'll go over the top, not through, just over the top. Now we can see that it's pulling one way, but that's easy to resolve simply because you can adjust that for the time being. Go back to the other diagonal corner, and now we need to wrap this second quadrant of the filling, making sure that your tension of the wrap is pulled against where you've come from, and you tension back on yourself but not over the top, so that you're lining up the wraps so that they sit next to one another neatly. That still has the ability to flex, so don't get too phased about the fact that it's not in the centre at the moment. And continue to wrap back to the centre, making sure that as you go, you're tensioning the wraps so they sit next to one another, and you're wrapping over 3 sets of laid threads. There's only 2 here, and there's 3 there. That's good. That's what we want, because when we come out of this filling, we need to come out with 3 laid threads that we're wrapping. So we've got to go over to the opposite side of where we are at the moment. And as I'm coming up to the next wrap, that will tension up and sit right in place in the centre. and you wouldn't have heard it, but I felt it, and you should be able to feel that moving into position so that it holds its position. I'm going back under because I want to now put lay that third set of threads into the corner and then wrap back to the centre again. So it's the same process, making sure that the tension goes into the corner where you've come from and that the wrap's tension is kept even and laid against one another. And once again, with this particular thread, 20 to 25 wraps is generally what happens. If you've got a thicker thread, you're probably in the vicinity of anything between, depending on the thickness of the thread, 15 to 20 wraps. And as you come to the centre, it's wise just to stop. I've got a bit of a overlap there. I'm using the needle to remove the space that I've left. I'll pull it out so that I can then get it to pull back neatly. I've got about 3 or 4 more wraps to go before I get back to the centre. And that will tension it up nicely. So, under again, it clicked into place that time. I felt it and I heard it. It's tensioning it up. Now we need, if you've got a thicker thread, 3 wraps, but with this particular thread and with your dentelle thread, you'll probably do 5, maybe 6 wraps, and that's where I want you to stop.